Good evening, welcome to the Toon review. Tonight we have a latest news stroke transfer rumour show, linked show, I should say, rather than rumour, with myself and Stato. Hope you're well, Stato. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, not too bad. Hoping Man City have a very long evening tonight in their Super Cup fixture. Get very tired for the weekend.
Yeah, lots of extra time, please. Lots of added on time. Long penalty shootout, 55 each. Missed the plane home, and all that carry on. So the weekend before we play on Saturday. I think that's probably the reason why it's a late kickoff as well, isn't it, on Saturday? I don't think it's just for TV thing. I think it's because of this European game. Anyway, if you are new to the channel and you do like what you see, hit that subscribe button, which is just below the chat. It helps. Obviously, we're on our way to 23,000 subscribers now. The more we get, the better it is for the channel. And give us a thumbs up also. Hit that like button as a show of your appreciation. It does help us out also by pushing us up the YouTube search engine. And let's share this with like-minded fans. Super Chat's also available by clicking on the $sign, and memberships too, which is like a paid subscription. And you do that by clicking the join button, which will take you to a payment table. Which will go through some comments before we get any further. Joe Peacock's for the first thing. Good evening to you. And Tony Douglas. Alan Bredmore says, good evening, Billy and Alex. Have you seen the Alex Ferguson interview talking about the Villa game? Saying that they outplayed us. Not sure what game he was watching. Stato, have you seen Mr. Ferguson rambling on in his dotage the other day?
I have. Don't know. Can't answer that one. I don't think the centre halves are very good. I think Mings was all right. Martinez was good. Had to keep them out of trouble. Put out a lot of fires. The two midfielders were okay. They just couldn't cope with our midfield. Watkins did marginally okay with what he was given, which wasn't a lot. Diaby was okay, got his goal, but just overall it wasn't good enough, and they got outworked, outfought. Technically weren't good enough. They had a bit of control in the second half when Tielemans came on, but I can see positives from elements of that, but they got battered. It doesn't make any sense. Like, it's clutching at straws to compliment much, really. It just makes you sound not very bright, and that's very insulting at Alex Ferguson. But I don't know. I don't know how to. I don't know. I don't know how to talk about it without offending him or Manchester United fans, because it was a weird thing to say, because it's just obviously not true.
Well, Taggart does have history for this. He doesn't like Newcastle United at all. He's called us just a small club in the northeast. And even after the Hawaii 5-0 game, 5-0 game, he said they were the better side that day when they were completely played off the park. Could have lost 8 and 9-0. Would never give Newcastle United any credit whatsoever. The only person he kind of really liked from Newcastle United was Sir Bobby. They were close friends, of course. But even that relationship wasn't rosy all the time. The 86 World Cup, they were both managers, one of England, one of Scotland. They had a little bit of a war out there in Mexico. But yeah, I think Ferguson's finally lost the plot big time. But everything he does is for a reason, and it is to poke the bear. That's what he's doing. He's, whether he's in his dotage or not, he's still got a hatred for Newcastle United. He doesn't want to see us as rivals because he knows what's going to happen eventually. And all his kind of bad things are coming together at once here, with Newcastle United advancing as a big club, and Manchester United potentially, in my opinion, shrinking. You can see that by the way they're kind of financially keep themselves in check this summer, aren't they? They're not spending out millions and billions like they usually do.
I don't know. I think they've still spent a lot. They've still brought in one of the best keepers in Europe with a great reputation, despite the fact he's assaulted someone and should have given away a penalty. And then yes. Rasmus Højlund is an extremely competent young man, great striker. Obviously, he's going to get shredded by the English media and Manchester United fans and neutrals because of the weight of expectation of that shirt, which is very unfair, because I really like Højlund. He's been brilliant all of the times I've seen him. I loved him in the Austrian Bundesliga for Sturm Graz, and they just like to ruin players, don't they? I look at the outgoing Maguire. I thought he was okay. All of his previous clubs, he does all right for England. He's not great. He's very much sort of your slabhead is the best way of describing him. He's a certain character. He's a certain style of defender, and they tried to use him in a different way, and obviously that wasn't going to work. People comparing him to the Van Dijk signing. Well, Van Dijk is far technically better and good at many other things. Maguire isn't. It never made sense.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the first transfer I can remember where I've actually heard the words Manchester United are kind of working to a budget. That's never kind of happened as far as I can remember before. And this is why the Harry Maguire transfer was kind of important, but it looks like he's not going anywhere now.
Well, there is something I want to mention about that, all the transfers. So TalkSport and Sky are putting out false information in terms of the net spend leaderboard or table for all the clubs. They keep putting our net spend as zero. Well, not net spend, as in transfers out as zero, which is inflating where we are in the table up to third. And that is a lie. It is misinformation. I don't want to go down the fake news route, but what are you all doing? We sold Alan Saint-Maximin. The Chris Wood transfer was official this window, and we've sold Carl Darlow. We've sold 3 players. None of them are included in the transfers out on the TalkSport list or on the Sky Sports list. What are you doing? What kind of narrative is this? It's not good enough. Do better. I'm surprised I've not been contacted by the club. It's literally pushing a bad narrative. It's going to get neutrals and the general public who are looking at graphics like that, going to get them thinking that we're spending lots. And when our net spend is lower than Bournemouth's this year. Ridiculous. Like it's all false. It's nonsense.
It is creating a narrative, isn't it, for keyboard social media types to, kind of post nonsense, even more nonsense, and create divisions amongst fans, and also promote their kind of their channels, isn't it? So. Yeah, it's crafty but it's not nice. Cameron says, "Hello lads, hope we're all well. Desperate for Lewis Hall and hopefully a right-sided centre back. If we get both, I'll be delighted with an already fantastic transfer window." The Lewis Hall thing is kind of gaining momentum, isn't it? I've seen Chelsea are open to selling him for 30 million. It's whether we if there's any kind of terms in that deal, if that comes through or not. You were saying earlier you think there might be a buyback clause in that, which would put us off.
Yeah. So the rumours are. He's up for sale. He's been given a new 6-year contract with an additional option to extend. I'm not sure if that additional year is the club's option or the player's option. So a little bit strange. The fact that he looks like he could really be the business. He looks very competent up and down that left side. Long range of passing as well. He's been very, 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 very good in the small amount of minutes we've seen him play as an 18-year-old. And I don't know, I just can't see them. 30 million just feels a little bit cheap, considering the sort of prices that have been thrown around for other players. Like the Livramento original price. Normally, players like that, they just go 50 million. They'll just slap a big price tag on just generically, especially because he's got a huge contract on him as well. And it's just... I don't know. I don't see anybody getting this as a permanent transfer without a buyback clause, because Chelsea will want that option to bring him back if they want to or need to in the future. And I feel like if they're insistent on putting a buyback clause in there, I don't think we'll go ahead with the deal. I think we'll walk away. Yeah,
I mean, it's got to be beneficial to us, and a buyback clause is just ridiculous, isn't it? It's kind of a extended loan, isn't it? If you look at it in that terms, doesn't interest us at all. We'll walk away from that. And again, today also, I've seen the sports watching talk come back again. There's 2 international friendlies at St James's Park in September, where with the Saudi Arabian national side are going to be playing against Costa Rica and South Korea, I do believe, at St James's Park. A money spinner for the club. Is it sports washing? I wouldn't have thought so. I don't know.
It's fine. I mean, in all honesty, we've still got connections to Saudi Arabia. The assurances were that we're not being controlled by the state. Not that we've not got connections. Like, the chairman is Saudi. It's his nationality. Like, we've got connections to Saudi Arabia. It doesn't mean we're controlled by the state. So why, much like you had Leicester and Thailand and all of these connections, what's wrong with hosting national games there? I don't understand why there's the big outrage for it. A lot of our fans are saying it's forced. It is what it is. We've got connections to it. It's fine. Like it will generate good amounts of revenue. There's broadcasting revenue to consider. There's the promotion of the stadium. There's the actual game itself, the revenue from that. There's the increased sort of eyes and coverage in the Middle East, and potentially more people supporting us from that region. That's going to be more people watching our matches, buying merchandise, loving the club. I don't see where the loss is here, apart from maybe the groundsman having to work overtime, and maybe us having to read a couple of irritating articles written by the Sun or somebody else. Like, who cares, really?
I mean, South and I makes a really good point here. Food for thought. These matches are FIFA controlled and nothing to do with the English Premier League. Therefore, all sponsorship is outside of the EPL's meddling hands. So there you go. And he's right what he says there. It's nothing to do with the EPL, is it? They can't kind of veto that.
Oh, yeah.
Tom says, I have to say that whilst I'm not entirely surprised, I do find it a bit weird. South American and African countries playing Europe due to players in European leagues. Not really the case with Saudi.
Yeah, but it's just due to the ownership links.
Yeah, of course it is.
Like the problem is not that we have links to Saudi Arabia. The problem is state controlled. That was the whole thing. So our chairman is of that nationality, and it is the Public Investment Fund from Saudi Arabia. Like, it's fine. Like, you get the American owners will go and do American tours, and you get the pre-season things, you get promotions and campaigns. What's the difference? There's just no difference. It's just an extra thing for people to complain about, really.
Ad B says, good evening all, and may I say we are top of the league. We still are. We've managed to do it for the first week of the season. Let's find something else to talk about here, because everyone's saying hello to each other. Oh yeah, 2 players I've signed from one Milan and one from Inter Milan, 2 Irish lads. They're now through the door. Kevin something or other, beginning with a Z, Zephyr or something like that, isn't it? Kevin Zephyr or something? Yeah,
it's because there's not a lot of data on them. I'm speaking with a couple of people privately about, I'm trying to get together a show on both of them because there's not as much data. I'm going to have to do a bit more digging on both of these young lads to try and get some good content for you. I feel like I owe you lot more than just 5 minutes because there's not a lot of data on them. So I'm going to have to prep it a bit better. So bear with me. I will go and do some more digging.
David T says, I've no affinity with Wolves, but I'm still fuming after Monday night. Not just the VAR, but Casemiro, Wan-Bissaka, Fernandes escaping bookings. Yeah, it was a shit show all the way around from the referee and the officials and Man United in general. Wolves were a better side. In fact, I'm kind of changing my mind on Wolves. I know it's only one game. They've got some threat up front. They've got some lovely players, haven't they, up front, Wolves? I thought Netse was outstanding. I thought the lad for the middle, Cunha, was really good too. Looked really dangerous. And Man United had no answer to it, did they, really?
Well, quite amusingly, they got outbeaten tactically, which I feel like Gary O'Neill deserves a lot of credit for, because I'm not a massive fan of Gary O'Neill. I thought Bournemouth overperformed massively statistically last year, and they were lucky to stay up. However, he set them up tactically brilliant. They were great from minute one. Casemiro had no chance. He was, the way they set up, Ten Hag was so slow in adjusting tactically. And it was funny because they praise him as such a good manager and such a good tactician and coach. And Gary O'Neill had him on toast tactically for that game. The Wolves players worked very, very hard. They were technically decent. There was good chances. Cunha played really well. He's been around for a while. I think he was a Leipzig reserve striker for a while. Used to sign him on Football Manager and stuff back in the day when he was still at Leipzig. Obviously, Mateus Nunes was really good as well. And they deserved 3 points. They didn't just deserve a point. They deserved all 3. They were so unlucky. And not only that, like the specifics of the game in terms of officiating, Man United players were not booked for asking for yellow cards, which they should have been because everybody else has been this game weekend. Additionally, they celebrated in the crowd. No yellow cards, got to be done. And then there's the Onana penalty. And it's pathetic. It's pathetic. They are being assisted through the league, and it's a joke. And then you've got pictures coming out. I don't want to talk about corruption. I know you and some people in chat and Paul talk about corruption, and I really don't want to say it because I don't want to believe it. I think it's just incompetent refereeing, but it's very unnerving seeing Howard Webb and other officials in hospitality, giggling, cheering. And then after the match, after all of these incidents, instead of admitting fault, instead of releasing the VAR audio, instead of issuing an apology, instead of rescinding Gary O'Neill's booking, because they booked him for that, what they do is they just drop the match officials for the next weekend. So they've admitted fault by doing that, just not publicly. They're not willing to hold their hands up and say they've made a mistake. And it's just not good enough. And it's always Manchester United that get the rub of the green on this. Liverpool get it from time to time as well. I think Manchester United have always had it more so because they are the media darling. And I was so happy with how the weekend went. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I really enjoyed the football, all of it. I thought it was brilliant. It was so good the Premier League was back. And then Monday, I feel really deflated because I just feel like it just takes the competitiveness out of it. I feel like we've worked so hard through pre-season. We've signed certain players. We've had to get the scouting correct, the transfers correct, the tactics, the work rate. We've been spinning so many plates and we've got everything so perfect and we've done so much hard work. Man United are on the same points as us. It's anti-competitive. I just feel so deflated. I don't know how everybody else, and people could, I will talk about Man United. I'll talk about what I want. I'm just so deflated by it. And it's something needs to change. It really does. Because Keith Hackett's been going on about it on Twitter and he's completely right. Something needs to change because the refereeing in this country is just atrocious. Howard Webb, in my opinion, is not doing a good job, contrary to a lot of what pundits are saying. I think Howard Webb, is equally as incompetent as it was under Mike Riley.
I mean, Howard Webb was Man United's Player of the Year 10 years on the trot, wasn't he, in the early 2000s? So it never was going to be any different with him, I'm afraid. He's a blatant Man United supporter. He's, just disrespectful to anyone say he's not. He really is an awful referee when Man United are concerned. And he used to follow him around. He used to get a lift from the team, but refereed him that often. Scandalous how he's been allowed to have such a high position within the officiating kind of realm. Gallagher Brown, member 13 months, he said not to disrespect Callum Wilson, but when and who becomes our next number 9?
Well, Isak he'll probably keep the number 14 because he loves Henry.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
he is our number 9 in all but shirt number. I mean, maybe that's disrespectful. Like, maybe it's technically Callum Wilson this year. Isak's not really just a 9, though. He's so versatile.
Yeah, I agree. King Hoddle, our resident Spurs fan, says, rate the following 3 in order. Waddle, Gaza, Ginola. I would say Gascoigne first, Waddle second, Ginola third.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Waddle was a fantastic player. Really, really was. But Gascoigne was Gascoigne. He was the best player in the world for a brief period in 1990. And Ginola, while he was a fantastic player, I don't think he did it enough. But, I mean, Waddle, he was the best player in Europe, wasn't he? European Player of the Year almost. 1991 when Marseille should have won the European Cup, Champions League.
Well, it got taken off him, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, yeah. I'm not sure that's the one now. I thought it was a bit later on. I think it was just before that. It would have got taken off them had they won it. They got beaten in the final by Partizan Belgrade or someone like that. It's a really poor final, though.
I know they won when it got taken off them.
That was a bit later, yeah. Basil Bolly scored, didn't he? I think that was a bit later, but even that was took off them. Like I say, Bernard Tapie, the owner, was corrupt, got caught out, and yeah, they lost it. Man United were terrible, by the way, against Wolves. Wolves are pretty good and didn't deserve another boys. I agree with that. We've all said that. Saracen I says, funniest thing about the Ferg interview was the rest of the panel all nodded thinking he was going to say Newcastle United were good. And then I kind of just looked at him in disbelief as he rambled on. They didn't kind of pull him up though, did they? Like, it's the same thing as Klopp the other day, the sycophancy amongst the press. And they didn't pull him up and say, what are you talking about, Alex? You're talking absolute bollocks.
Well, yes, Ferguson. They're never going to interrupt him. People are terrified of him.
Yeah. Saracen I says, anyone fancy Miranda at left back? She's freakishly tall. She'd be burned 2.9. I think someone might have seen something early doors. Anyway, let's look at this left back that we have been linked with another one, and it is Juan Miranda.
It is indeed. So obviously we've already looked a little bit at Lewis Hall and Cucurella and also Kieran Tierney. So those are the other 3 links. We have looked at them on and off. At the moment, the transfer links are left backs, and more left backs. So we bring you a Spanish left back, a nice little alter. Well, that's okay. I've had like a story there because I guess Cucurella is also Spanish, but a different Spanish left back in Juan Miranda. So from Olivares in Spain, He plays for Real Betis. He is only 23 years old. He's quite tall. He's 6 feet and half an inch. Again, FB ref with the halves. I don't know why anybody's not a complete sort of So La Liga last year, just under 1,500 minutes with 5 goal contributions. Not bad at all. That's rather impressive. And then 500 minutes in the Europa League, 7 appearances, 3 assists in that as well. So decent goal returns there for contributing for the team. Only a year left on his contract. There are rumours of a release clause that a lot of people have been talking about. He's available for 10 million, or there's a release clause of 10 million. There's lots of different rumours floating around. I don't know what's true. We'll have to wait and see. Again, I don't want to push too much out there because there's a lot of speculation. Wages reportedly only 25,000 euros a week. So very, very modest. So we could pick him up, I reckon, for a reasonable transfer fee, rather cheap, and on very modest wages as well. So let's scroll down and have a look at the good stuff, shall we? So some statistics. Not too bad. Pass completion percentage is alarming. It's alarmingly low. However, Burns isn't terribly better, to be fair. I think Burns is what is Burns? Let's double check. This is Kukureya, so let's use Burn. Because ideally, this is what we need to be comparing against. So Dan Burns got 79% pass completion rate. Juan Miranda's on a 72. Arguments to be made that maybe that would go up. He'd be in a different system, a different team. There'd be more of a focus on being more careful with the ball. His ball progression in terms of passes is above average. 58th percentile, 3.99 progressive passes per 90. Again, touches in the attacking penalty area is fairly high for a fullback. And he's receiving a lot of progressive passes high up the pitch. Important bits here. The aerials won and clearances is quite nice. You'd expect that because he's obviously a little bit tall for a left back. He's over 6 foot. So it fits this criteria. We've talked about in an ideal world, we'd have somebody like Dan Burn, but is not quite as tall and lanky. Maybe somebody who's still got the height, but is a bit more athletic and can offer a bit more offensively, but can also fill in that back 3 shape, but can still head the ball very well, is great in the air, but can contribute maybe with some overlaps where necessary, maybe even step into midfield, possibly. Just a bit more, Dan Burn, but with more skill, more of a skill set. So I think he potentially offers that, to be fair. So if we go and see who he compares to, it's rather flattering. You've got Ben Chilwell on the left. You've got Di Marco from Inter, who we've been linked with. You've also got Theo Hernandez from Milan, who we've also been linked with. Michel Bakker, who we were linked with once upon a time. So we've been linked with 3 of these people on this list. So I don't think it's a unreasonable shout to say that he's on a scouting list somewhere. It's very fair. So very, very possible. His career to date is started off in Barcelona. I don't know if he was in La Masia. I'd have to double check. And then played, strangely enough, went to Schalke. It might have been on loan, possibly. I'm not sure. Never made a senior appearance for Barcelona, but played for Schalke, 8 starts in the Bundesliga. He was very young at the time, to be fair to him. Looked okay. And then went to Real Betis in La Liga in Spain. Has made a few seasons in Spain. Not crazy amounts of minutes, though. 18 starts, 9 starts, and 16 starts. So he's never been a 30-game centre-half. Reasons, not 100% sure. We'll have a look at his injuries and see if that's maybe a factor. So Miranda as well. Let's go to his SOFA score. So I don't know if you guys remember. If anybody watched this, the under-21s Euros final with England, Miranda played for Spain, left back. Had a bad game, didn't do very well. However, generally is quite good. He did quite well in the rest of that tournament. Quite technically sound. I think he took a few free kicks, as Fox's just mentioned. He took the words right out of my mouth. I've not seen him take any free kicks for Betis, but I have seen him take a couple of free kicks for the under-21s in Spain. I don't know if he takes free kicks for Betis. I'll have to check that. I thought it was the other guy, the old guy. So in terms of Betis, Joaquin, yeah. He is still there. He's got to be like 70 years old by now, that guy, honestly. So strangely enough, weaknesses is long balls. We'll go back and have a look at his FB ref in a bit more detail. So you've got his absolute stinker in the final. Well, I say stinker. It just, they lost. Spain, Ukraine, 5-1. He dropped to 7.3. He's their starting left back. Statistically, what's he done? Proper left back's heat map. Played all the 90 minutes. 4 out of 4 ground duels. Couple of interceptions, a tackle. You've got a 91% completion rate there, which is pretty tidy. Tried 2 crosses. He succeeded in his 3 out of 6 long balls. 1 shot off target. Completed all 3 successful dribbles, and he hit the post. So you can see what he's about. He is a lively young man. He gets very involved in the play. A few goals in the championship as well. So one against Romania, and then another one against Switzerland. So we can see here, there he is. Let's see how he did in this game then statistically. Crazy attacking heat map here. This is nice. 1 clearance, 1 tackle. Very involved physically there with half of his duels. Drew a couple of fouls. Not again, I feel like the passing data in FB rep is maybe doing him a bit dirty. Yeah. Maybe it's down to instruction at Betty's, but he's looking okay whenever I look at specific games. So a couple of crosses as well, and 2 key passes, a couple of long balls, lots of touches. He's quite happy to have some shots in games as well, which is really nice. So very attacking considering he's 6 foot. If we go back and have a look at some league form, you've got Betis against Valencia in La Liga. So he is there in the lovely green and white. And he's actually behind. Oh, go away. He's actually behind Perez. So in a 4-2-3-1, they've got Perez there. So have I clicked on him? Yes. Scroll across. So we got his assist, a couple of clearances, interceptions, tackle. Reasonable ground duels there. He won half of his ground duels in his only aerial duel. What else have we got? Again, fairly tidy passing accuracy in the league. This time 83%. Lots of touches, 2 key passes. He tried 5 crosses, didn't get any of them. Maybe could do with improving that sort of crossing accuracy. A couple of successful dribbles and another shot on target as well. So he loves having 1 or 2 pops a game. Just for the sake, let's go back a little bit further. A few more goals here as well in the league. He had a little bit of a poor run of form here, but to be fair, it was against you'd got Barca in this and Athletic Club as well, so some harder fixtures. Excuse me. And then he did get sent off in the derby, Sevilla against Betis, which is the Andalusian derby. So maybe this got a little bit heated. I don't know quite how he got sent off, but still feisty. He's a feisty one, but I like this, to be fair. I really do like what I see when I look at the data. I've seen him play. I wasn't focusing on him when I watched him, but I did watch most of those Spain games. And he was part of a very good side. I thought Spain were okay. Well, I say okay. They were more than okay. They got to the final. Right, let's have a look at his transfer marked. So here he is, although we've got this lady in the way. Can you go away? How do we get rid of the lady? Let's refresh that.
Take your contact lenses off.
There we go. So Mr. Miranda. So 25 caps at youth level internationally is very impressive with 5 goals. Let me just scroll down and have a look. Is that across all? No. So it's considerably more appearances when you factor in all of the age levels. So he's actually got. Why is Spain split into 2 sections? I don't know. He's got 1 or more caps for Spain. I'm not sure.
It looks
maybe
like one and a goal. It looks like.
Yeah, it does look like it. So he's got a senior cap as well. Strangely enough, his market value is only 9 million euros. Again, it runs true with what I was talking to everyone about with the 10 million, whether it's a valuation, a release clause, whatever it is. It seems very undervalued, in my opinion, for what he is. Player agent is AC Talent. And if we have a look at AC Talent, we've got more pop-ups in the way. Lovely, jubbly. Transfer marks. Please, guys, sort this out. We've got transfer shows to deliver here. Right. So, oh, bloody hell. Mate, go away. We don't care about whatever this is. We're not buying the product. I can't get rid of it. All right, let's scroll down anyway. I'll scroll down so you can see one particular name. There's no players on here that we've dealt with. However, coaches, Rafa is represented by them. You can see Rafa down there.
And
So Rafa's on their books.
2 above him. Well, 2 above him are quite famous too.
Xavi and Unai Emery as well. But in terms of players, there you go. It's got rid of the thing now. So you've got Ander Herrera. You've got one of the Simeones. Is that not? That's not Diego. Not his son. I think that's the other one.
Yeah.
I think that's the younger son. I don't know if that's related.
Yannis
Rakitic, Umtiti.
yeah.
So there's a few there. So it is an interesting one. There you go. You can see his full career. So he started at Betis Youth. So it wasn't La Masia technically, although he was through from sort of the under 16 level. The Schalke was a loan. There we go. And yeah, went to Betis, the free transfer. So could be an interesting one. I think this could be a budget option, but I feel like he ticks a lot of boxes. Why don't we have a look at those long balls, shall we? Beans, as we're here, let's have a look at the complete scouting report. So we get to see some more data. I know everybody loves stats. So pass completion rate. So his long passing, passes completed long, passes attempted long, and his pass completion rate of long is in the bottom 25th percentile for completed long range passes, which isn't ideal. You know, we do like our players to be better at that long range passing. However, I'm not sure if it's much of an issue because I don't think we task Dan Burn with considerable amounts of long range passing. So do we care that much? I think this is maybe more important stuff. Passes into the final third, passes into the penalty area, crosses into the penalty area. And then, you expected assists, key passes. I feel like this is more important for a fullback. I'm not as bothered about the completion rate of his long passing. It's not something that Dan Burn does an awful amount of. So I don't know about you, but I'm not as bothered by that. I don't think that's too much of an issue. So yeah, I like him. I think this is a decent shout. I feel like it's a nice money ball shout, as it were. I feel like it'd be a very cheap option, and I feel like would be progressed under Eddie Howe and would work quite nicely. It would also give Miggy someone to talk to, wouldn't it? As it looks like Manquillo is probably going to go. So another Spanish speaker through the door.
Although he couldn't be further away on the pitch from him, could he?
Well, there is that, yeah.
Wages look good as well, €25,000 a week, which is obviously something we can really improve on. And just a year left on his contract, which probably is why it's so cheap. He looks a good player to me. I mean, I do remember him from the European and 21's final. Like you say, he didn't have a great game. He was up against that game. Was it Madawiki that was up against him? Was Madawiki playing in the final? Can't remember now.
I'm not sure if he was. I mean,
I don't think he was he? I don't think he was he? I think he got dropped for the final. We can have a look, can't we?
It was Cole Palmer and Gibbs
Cole
White.
Palmer, yeah, of course. Cole Palmer had a good game, didn't he? So a bit of a handful on that side, yeah. And Gibbs White, like you say. But yeah, he looks a good player, doesn't he? He looks an accomplished young left back. Obviously, the age thing's good, 23. Just coming into his kind of where he's going to get to his peak in 2 or 3 years. So, yeah,
I mean, as long as we don't give him extortionate wages, which I don't think we will, I feel like there's resale value. Like, if it does, it's not as much of a gamble because I feel like if we buy him and it doesn't work, we'll get reasonable resale value for him. Because if he comes into the Premier League, the fact that he's playing Premier League minutes and if he does okay, that's instantly going to increase his transfer value.
Yeah.
Because if you can do it in the Premier League, you are worth more by default. I think he will be progressed through Eddie Howe as well. So if in 2 or 3 years' time we don't want to stay in this direction, I feel like we could move him on anyway. I think it'd be a decent buy. I think it fixes our. We're trying to be careful with our money.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be too expensive either. So, yeah.
I like the look of him. I will be honest. I mean, I've kind of got my heart set on Lewis Hall now, to be honest, but still. A very good left back there and an affordable price, which is kind of the big clincher, really, isn't it? Predator says, "What's the crack with Paul's holiday?" Long story, and I'm sure Paul will tell you next week. But suffice to say that Paul and 2 of the children ain't very well. I haven't been very well due to a virus on the holiday camp, which kind of the way I understand it is they've been kicked off the actual site, and where they're going, where they're headed for now, I don't know, but no doubt they'll say. And they'll tell us all in the future. Welcome all the Saudis to Newcastle in the financial game to Newcastle and the club, says Martin. Yeah, it's just a couple of games of football, to be honest, where it's going to gain the club some money, which is great. Dave says most of the comments from other fans on sport washing are from Liverpool fans. They are seriously bitter of us getting top 4. That's quite true. They're not the only ones. Manchester United are the same. Boyd Tierney is Premiership proven and walks into the team. So we've got 4 left backs now. We've got Cucurella, Tierney, Hall, and Miranda.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the 4, and it's your choice. You've got carte blanche to sign one of them. Which one would it be?
Oh, if I had a full choice, I'd sign Lewis Hall.
Yeah, me too.
If there was an added emphasis on saving money, I'd go for Miranda. I wouldn't choose Tierney. I know if you, I don't know, somebody just mentioned they'd take Tierney. Tierney's not good enough in the air. Tierney is a good fullback, but we don't need Kieran Tierney. Like, we need somebody that can play the way we need tactically, that fits into our team. And it looks very much like Eddie Howe's going for that sort of style, with that dropping into that shape with the 3. He needs to have a certain skill set to play left back in our system. Tierney doesn't have that skill set, in my opinion. I think he's the worst out of the 4. If I was to rank them in order, I'd do Lewis Hall, Miranda, then Cucurella, then Kieran Tierney. I think he'd be my 4th choice.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think Tierney would be mine, even though he's probably the quickest of the 4. He's also the most injury prone of the 4, so let's not forget that.
True.
He has lots of issues with his hamstrings and things, isn't he?
But it's not about it. I feel guilty saying that. And it's not that Kieran Tierney's not a good fullback. He is a really good fullback. It's just it's not the way we play. We just don't play that way.
Clark says, I hope we sell out both Saudi games and the Prem goes into meltdown. That's a strange one. Do you think St James will be sold out? I mean, really, what interest would the North East, I mean, apart from the fact that we're owned by Saudis, can you see it's been sold out? I mean, I can't see many Costa Ricans making the trip. I can't see many South Koreans making the trip. It's odd, isn't it? Because nothing can be worse than 2 international games playing in front of 3,000 or 4,000 people.
I don't know. I think it's one of those where it could surprise a few people. I think they'll be aware.
Hopefully they'll put cheap tickets on and it'll be sold out, and everyone will be kind of, whether they're all wearing green and white or not, I don't know, but they probably will be, knowing our lot. Probably wearing Newcastle shirts, actually, which fits in nicely with the narrative, I guess. Frost T. Hammer says, I feel Hall is too young. I'd take a cheeky punch on Cancelo. We can't afford him, mate. You know, wages are astronomical. They'd want a hefty transfer fee for him too.
Mate, if Bayern Munich can't afford him, we can't afford him. FFP, unfortunately, exists. Not for Chelsea, but we're playing by the rules.
We are. JB says it's a disgrace Spurs are American football watching.
Yeah, well, there you go. They played the NHL games, which improved,
NFL, yeah.
Improved that. Well, it was good for Spurs, though. Good for the stadium. It was great for them. And that never got talked about. But America has guns and the death penalty and lots of things that we don't have in Europe, but that just gets completely pushed to the side. You can criticize anything if you try hard enough.
Phil Gow, £2 super chat. Thanks, Phil. Very much appreciated, my friend. He asked the question, who do you think will get the first hat-trick for Newcastle this season?
Oh, it's got to be Isak.
Yeah, you think
It's
so?
got to be. He nearly had one the other day.
Should have had one the other day, really. Shouldn't he? In fact, the chance he missed, it was easier than the second goal anyway. Certainly, he should have scored it. Tony could beat Martinez at the near post. Twice we did it. 3 times, in fact. I think Barnes did it as well. And he got down to it each time. So, yeah, I think he's that. And if not him, it'll be Wilson, wouldn't it? You'd think. Easy answers, but boring answers. But I think you've got to go, isn't it like £5 a ticket? It will be a bigger win for the area than the club. I guess so. Lisa, the on-day revenue for Saudi team playing at St James Park won't be that big as tickets are only £5 adult, £3 kids. It'll be great for advertisement and future sponsorship deals with the Saudi region. Excellent point, that. It will kind of push our profile, if it needed pushing, in that neck of the woods. I'm not sure it actually did need pushing, actually, to be fair. Anyway, this is the news from Butlins and Skegness. Tom says, it's been a holiday in Butlins. There's been a norovirus outbreak due to bad hygiene standards. Paul and the family have been taken ill as a result and being kicked out, which is ridiculously harsh. Hopefully they can get some compensation, lots of it, because that's it's just appalling way to be treated, isn't it? JB says if we get Hall, we'll have a tremendous crop of young players in 23. It's all about future as well as now, isn't it? Stato, all these young players coming in, plus the ones we're getting on, from the Milan clubs and the youth players we've seen put their hands up in pre-season. It's a massive promise to the long-term future, not just the short term.
Yeah, I mean, just even if we don't do it this year, even if we maybe make it out of our group or we don't, maybe we finish 7th or 8th. Just think about the squad. Just think about how good Isak could be in 2 more years. And if you factor in Willock, and Botman and Isak and Tonali and Livramento, and there's so many players that fit that criteria. In 2 years, maybe 3. And then that's not, you've got to remember that's also not including any future transfers in. So, it's so exciting. We're going to be so good. Like, this is only the start.
It is, yeah. It's just the first chapter to a very long book, hopefully. It's really, 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 really promising. The way the club have gone about it is in the right way. You can't just do it by massive signings. Even Man City haven't done it that way, have they? They've kind of promoted youth also. They've got a nice crust of young players going through their squad at the minute, so you can't just do it by massive signings. Dave Bullman says Cathal Heffernan is a very good player, strong player, and highly rated in Ireland. Like the Ashworth picking up these players, a lot of good young Irish players coming through. That'll be the third one. The third one, won't it? Young Murphy and the other lad. Young Murphy looks a hell of a player, I've got to say. Gearvoid Flanagan says if true loan plus obligation, 31 million being reported, what's your honest opinion?
I thought the whole loan thing was to Palace. I don't think that we've been offered a loan. I don't think it'd be a loan. I think ours would be a permanent transfer. I don't think that's the crack at all. That'd be madness from Chelsea. The only reason would be to try and offset spending. Why have they loaned him to us?
Exactly.
I guess an obligation means they're guaranteed the money, but an option would just be mental because then we could just walk away from it. We could use him as cover and then just walk away if we don't like him. Like, it's crazy.
I think it'd be a great signing. Plus, you've got to remember that the kid is from Geordie heritage, father and grandfather, both Geordies, I believe. Him and his brother both support the club. So it's a win-win in every way you look at it. There's no bad things about it at all.
But who's that I just criticised? Yeah, JB. I disagree with you. I don't think they were fantastic. They were bottom in every metric. Expected goals, expected goals against, expected points. They were bottom of every metric. And if you play that out for long enough, you go down and you go down bottom of the league. They weren't good enough. You can win games while being bad. Like under Steve Bruce, we won football matches. Not very many, but we did. Does that mean that he was fine? No, of course not. We beat Man United under Steve Bruce. We beat Man United 1-0. Like, we had some reasonably good victories. We had some. It doesn't mean anything. I don't think Gary O'Neill was great at Bournemouth. I think the personnel weren't particularly good enough. They had an okay spine in like Billing and Solanke, and what's the centre half, Lloyd Kelly as well. They had a reasonably good spine. And they've built on that very well. But there is a reason why they sacked him. They sacked him because they were bottom of every metric and they wanted a more progressive manager who was going to get more out of the team and provide some better data because it looked quite perilous. I'm happy he's proved me wrong tactically and he's set up Wolves quite well in that first game. But again, it's game number 1. We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully he can do well. But he was bottom of every metric for Bournemouth. They were bad. They just weren't.
He's only been there for 4 days as well. As we kind of mentioned in the Premier League predictions, he's not going to be able to set up a low block with that defence, is he? Don't think the squad actually suits a low block, which is what he permanently played at Bournemouth. I think Bournemouth fans will be quite happy with the change of manager, purely for entertainment purposes. And they were much better side to watch when it's in one game of them. I was going to say something, I can't think what it was. Oh, yeah. 1 point from the weekend. I don't know if you saw it, Stato. It's about Bournemouth. It's about a player you mentioned there, Mr. Billing.
Oh yeah.
See what he's got on his back of his shirt now.
No, what is it?
Philip.
You're joking.
No, You know, like Depay had Memphis, and you get these.
I tell you what, I was having this conversation the other day. I can't remember who it was with. I think I was speaking to a friend on the phone, and it was about this. It was about players having different things on their shirts, and they were arguing the toss, saying, "Oh, it's just how it is nowadays." But you guys know my stances on the Italian numbers on players having 92, 76. Like, I hate it. I hate it with a passion. Have a traditional shirt number and have your surname on your shirt. Like, unless there is a special reason for it, it's ridiculous. I hate it. Tradition needs to be honored to a point. Otherwise, where do you stop? Where do you stop? It has to be, because it ties into a culture of respect. And football is about that. There is a hierarchy. That's why we have youth players, senior players, leadership, captain, managers, assistant managers. It's a hierarchy. There's an element of respect and tradition within football. And I hate messing with too many things. And first names on the back of your shirt is a big no-no. That's stupid. I hate it so much.
Generally, it's these players that are quite big names. Memphis Depay he had Memphis, didn't he? There's been a few others. Philip Billings, does he fit into that? I mean, he's a good player, don't get me wrong, but is he one deserving of his first name only? I mean, none of them are, let's be honest. But
I'm also being told that stroking my beard is rude. Is that rude? Is it bad manners to stroke your beard?
I don't think so.
Isn't that like a old man wise thing, like that they stroke their beard? I know I'm not old, but still. I don't know. I mean, I've got grey hair, so
yeah, that's not rude to stroke your beard, unless it's the other beard you're stroking, of course. But obviously, it's not. Football referees only need 2 criteria: knowledge of the subject and integrity, and they fall on both parts since the first match of the season, says Seacross Boxers. Can't disagree with that. Can't. I know Alex would like me to, but I can't. Yesterday's performance, it's not even hiding anymore. It was blatantly obvious that they were doing it. Wan-Bissaka's tackle, I can't remember who it was on. It was the most blatant yellow, borderline red. Didn't even get booked for it.
Martinez's tackle, I think, could have been a red if it was a different team.
Yeah. B. Taylor says Webb has always been in Manuel's pocket. It stinks. Yeah, I can't have said that. Where's that comment gone? Jock Barr says dropping refs for 1 match doesn't work. Drop them for 4. That may make a difference. I'll drop them for 2 months. And I'd have them doing courses, rules courses, and it's not just the referee on the pitch. He might not have had a view of it, but people in VAR, how are they not changing that? They can see 5 or 6 different angles of it as many times as they like, and they still come up with the wrong decision. Madness.
Yeah, it's not good enough. It's terrible.
Absolute madness. Nick Thornton says, is it right that Wilson is in the final year of his contract? I'm not sure. I haven't got a clue. Possibly.
I'll have a look.
That I can find out. We shall check. Paul Tully says VAR, that these issues and it should have been sorted by now. It would be a massive change, but I'm all for privatisation to outsource officials. In-house is proving a disaster.
He is actually in the final year of his contract.
Is he? That's interesting then, isn't it?
Do you want to see some Callum Wilson stats just for a bit of fun?
Yeah, let's see some Callum Wilson stats. The dog's obviously seen the clock.
I know, yeah. I think you'll have to do it. It won't let me put it up.
Okay. There we go. There's Callum Wilson.
So, yeah, final year of his contract. Scroll down and have a look. He is good at one thing and one thing only, according to his data set. Scoring goals. I do think this does him a bit dirty because I think a lot of these minutes are in that. Can you go away?
He's not bad at touches in the penalty area, to be fair. Oh, no. Of course it is.
Sorry, my dog wants to go for a walk already. We're not finished yet. Sorry. Yeah, so this includes the data from sort of January to the end of the season. And a large chunk of that, he wasn't fit. He wasn't well. He wasn't as energetic. He wasn't as involved in build-up. So he was great at the start of the season, and then he was actually a lot better toward like the final few games. And he's looked really good in the back end of preseason as well. He's looked much better, much more energetic. So, but unfortunately, all of this data includes that section where he was quite lethargic in his play. However, all of the important bits are really, really good. Shot volume, he's in the top 9% in Europe. And then his non-penalty XG, he's literally in the best bracket. He's in the 99th percentile for non-penalty expected goals, like 0.8. So that is an incredible return. 0.8 goals per 90. That's mental. So that is elite levels there from Callum Wilson. It's absolutely ridiculous. And just while we're on it, I haven't actually looked at Isak's in a while. Let's have a bit of fun, shall we?
Yeah, let's look at Alexander Isak. Oh, wow. It's like a Celtic shirt.
Yeah, that's not bad. And that's not as a winger as well. It changes a little bit. But as a forward, yeah, his non-penalty goals in the 90th percentile at 0.6. But he has played out wide as well. Successful take-ons, top 7%. Lots of defensive output as well. Shot create, yeah, that's mental. So good. Very, very, very good. But he's on the wages. He's on more than double Callum Wilson, apparently. So look at that long contract. That's beautiful. Lovely to see.
Isn't it just? I love it. Troll says, what does the Troll says dropping the ref for a week is saving the ref. He should be told off, not get a pat on the shoulder. Wilson will stay. I mean, it won't matter, I hope. If we got offered £20 million for Wilson, do we take it?
No. Because we can't replace what he is right now. Right now, he is very, very dangerous. Right, if we give him the season, he scores 20 goals. Like his conversion rate is really solid. He's very experienced in the Premier League. He's very experienced in our side. He's used to working with a manager and the team. We wouldn't be able to replicate anything near Callum Wilson for £20 million. Nowhere near. Like, we might as well squeeze every last drop we can out of him for the football club. And I don't think he'd mind that. I think he's quite happy to write his name in the stars and be a part of this legacy. And he's happy to pass the torch on to somebody like Isak eventually. I don't think he's ready yet, but I do think he's still good enough to be part of this squad. Hopefully, maybe might extend his contract for a couple of years. I'd like to see maybe a 2-year contract extension. I think that would be just about right. I feel like 1 year would be doing him a bit dirty. I think he can offer us more than an additional year, but 3 might be a bit too far. Possibly, especially the sort of position he plays. But he's adapting his game. He's becoming a lot more intelligent with his runs. His timing is impeccable. You know, he got in behind a lot. He did it at Brighton back end of last season. He's done it in preseason as well. He's timing his runs really well, and he's getting in behind. I feel like he's one of those footballers that he knows he needs to be clever to keep going, and he's clinical as well. I'd like to see Callum Wilson sign a 2-year extension, in my opinion.
2-year contract. Would you be looking for second stroke, third choice striker next summer then?
Yeah, I think we could do with a young, versatile forward. However, who we got on the books at the moment? I mean, it depends what we want to do with everyone else, because obviously Murphy's contracted until 2025, I think. Miggy as well. What's Miggy's contract? Because I think there's a lot of players' contracts up at the end of next season.
Did Miggy sign one last season?
Yeah, Miggy's still 2026. So, yeah. I don't know. We might look for another versatile forward next summer, maybe. We'll see. Depends on outgoings, finances, where else we might want to improve on the pitch as well.
No, Warren Dinning says, Calvin, I've got to try and read this. Ahir Bashingham. Ahir Bashingham. Forward for Reading. Say it, but I've just said it. I'll try to. Ahir Bashingham. There you go.
I'm not saying it.
Is it something dodgy there? There ain't something dodgy there, is there?
I don't think so.
Ahir Bashingham. There you go. Anyway, if it's not that, I apologise to Calvin, whatever his name is. But he's probably not watching. Jan says Wilson will play more against the lower teams and score tons. Yeah, I think he'll definitely be horses for courses, and he'll play as and when, sparingly, I would think. I think Isak's definitely the first choice. Do you think that owning a dog is a recruitment criteria for Newcastle, said Julie? Interesting question.
Maybe.
Interesting question.
Maybe not, because I've got a Samuel and I'm nowhere near the club, so...
Of says, I still don't know how they're able to fix Callum Wilson's tooth in that Man United game. Yeah, I've got that. And question, comment here of Mandrew says, here's hoping we extend Callum Wilson contract big time. He likes him, obviously. And Julie J says he'd be a good press about that ease up guy. We should buy him. There you go. We've come to the end of the show, guys. We've been on for nearly an hour.
Well, it is worth stating as well before we obviously Minte and Garan Qual as well to come back from their prospective loans. So we've got to factor them into the future squad as well. They do exist.
Without a doubt. Yeah, Minte looks very promising. Be interesting to see how Garan Qual does this season. I think it's kind of a make or break season for him, really. I know he's only young and he's not really been treated right at the Scottish Premier League at Hearts. But I think he's got to do something this season promising, surely. You'd think that, wouldn't you? Yeah,
he'll be all right. He'll get minutes.
Jan's off to watch City. I think that's what we're going to do.
Well, I need to walk the dog first.
Alex is going to walk the dog, and I'm going to watch City. But thanks for joining us, guys. Tomorrow it's the preview for the said aforementioned Man City game.
Perfect timing, straight after they play tonight as well. So
it is. Yeah. Mr. De Bruyne's out for 4 months, so we're going on Oasis Fine tomorrow for the Man City preview. Important game, of course, it is. Can we maintain our top spot? We shall see. But thanks for joining us. Thanks to the mods. Thanks to Stato. We'll be back tomorrow. But until then, I'll say, wish you all a very good evening. And Stato can do my bit.
Away the lads and lasses.
There you go. See you tomorrow, people.
Come back and check on some green.